Hey everybody, welcome to Urban Home Content. Today I'm here with Zechariah Thormodsgaard. I'm here with Zach. I'm going to explain his name later. If you're listening to this, that means you are not a patron, and you should become a patron. We appreciate you listening. If you're watching and listening to this, thank you so much for being a patron. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks to everybody. I can't talk today. Thanks to everybody at Workhorse for letting us do this after hours. Let's get started. Okay, now that that's done. So yeah, how do you pronounce your last name?
Thormodsgaard.
Thormodsgaard.
Yeah.
I was so far off.
Close.
Thormodsgaard.
Yeah.
Thormodsgaard.
Thormodsgaard. Yeah.
Thormodsgaard. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's, you say Zechariah or Zechariah?
Zechariah is my full first name, and then Zach is my nickname.
Okay,
but
because
yeah,
it has the
it's
Z-E.
Z-E. Yeah, kind
Okay,
of
so-
messes with people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zechariah Thormodsgaard.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. We got that down.
Yeah.
I did my homework. I wanna start this off with: have you ever used miniatures for VFX?
Yes, we've done a handful of things with just like perspective, and in the latest film that we worked on, there's a sign that's in it that looks like a giant billboard, and it's like that big. Yeah.
How tough is that?
It's all about perspective, really. You know, getting the right camera angle and getting the right lens.
Is that a joke?
Yeah, it's all about perspective. Yeah.
What cameras do you use?
So we use HDSLRs in the office just to pick up extra stuff that we need every now and then on green screen. Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
It works. Yeah. Because we put a lot of digital magic on that.
I keep thinking of Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
When that miniature helicopter like went off the cliff, and you see the snow, and it's like, that's a very large chunk of snow.
Yeah, that's a little bit of wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Has it ever not worked out, miniatures?
I mean, we haven't done it a ton. I mean, we're predominantly digital. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we played around with some, back in the day, some minifigs and doing some stuff with that.
What are
yeah.
minifigs?
Minifigures.
Yeah.
So like miniature versions of Batman. We had one of those in the office that was pretty posable. That was kind of fun to play with.
Oh, goodness.
Did some stuff like perspective-wise with that, but for the most part, it's all digital. Like that, like one shot in this last movie of the like hundreds of others that weren't.
Goodness. And going into that, one of my best friends, he worked for, I think, Legend Studio out in Burbank or whatever. And then he did independent stuff. And he said the number one thing that was really a thorn in his side was people would say, hey, I need this one shot. And then it ends up being like, 20 shots, which...
That's a good ratio, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
for every one shot that they say they need, it's easily 20 more than that.
So if, for people that are listening that don't understand, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need not just color grade, but I need this fire explosion to look real in the shot.
Yeah.
How long does that take? Like, how long does how many frames are we talking? Like, how long does 1 second of film take to really juice
It
up?
really depends. I mean,
Okay.
it can range the gamut. Let's say simple explosion that's off in the distance that is just one lockdown angle, no camera movement, where you don't have to track it, things like that, where it's just locked down and you're putting an explosion in the background.
Yeah.
You can probably get away with that in a day or two. But something that is like a hero shot that really needs to sing, really is going to take up a lot of the space on camera. You're going to have multiple angles, the cameras are moving, people are running through it. So you have to lock down or you have to track the camera, you have to track the people going through it, depending on whether or not it was shot on green screen, that type of thing. And then you're layering in all of these different things, whether it's the explosion and the debris around it, the reflections in the world, and then shadows that casts on the people that are in it when it explodes to make it look completely real. That can take months. Like one shot could take months.
That's why you see so many people in the credits, when every Marvel movie rolls by.
Yep.
That's insane. Is there any point that it becomes a little bit too tedious and you're like, I can't look at the screen anymore?
Oh yeah. We have VFX IDs from the last movie that are now swear words in our office. Yeah. ENH29 is one. FUI 17 is one. Those both took 2 weeks each. Those were like one shot was I think 3 or 4 seconds in the movie, and it took 2 weeks. to track and put in the UI on the phone and all this stuff. It was a mess.
For filmmakers watching, what is the best thing they can do?
VFX supervisor on set.
Oh
my gosh.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I did a commercial for like mattresses, and our heads were on the bodies of babies.
Yeah.
I think you saw that.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Yep.
but the guy was there.
Yeah,
The
of
VFX
course.
guy was there.
Yep.
And he's like, no, please don't
Yep.
have his head tilted that way because
Yep.
it's going to be hell for my department.
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay, it's
Yep.
nice to have you here.
Yeah.
Like, it was very interesting. And so, I mean, with that said, I thought that was different. That was unique. Is that not the norm to have the VFX supervisor on set?
Not for indie film usually, unfortunately. It's a line item in the budget that generally is knocked off.
But if you have
Yeah.
a VFX supervisor on set, isn't that going to knock off some like work down the road?
Yeah.
Okay.
For probably every day that you're spending for a VFX supervisor, you're probably saving a week worth of post. I mean, that's a generalization, but based on my last movie, easily.
The last movie you did had a VFX supervisor though, right?
Nope.
Oh, I thought that would have had it.
It had post-production VFX supervision, but
Okay.
no VFX supervisor on set.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, whoa.
And there were
Did not know that.
a little over 300 visual effects shots in the movie,
Okay.
which is, by standards for an indie film. We worked with Photochem out in LA, and they did all of the conforms for our plates that we then worked on for the visual effects shots, which basically what they're doing is they're creating what we need to work on so that they can color it and then get it to where it needs to go for getting into theaters. When they saw what we were doing, they said that it was by far, not even close, the most ambitious independent film they'd ever seen from a visual effects standpoint.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, does that come down to budget, or does that come down to it's just going to take you more time than you wanted?
Budget. Yeah, budget mainly, because then you can bring more people on it, and you can cut down the time. You're going to be able to spend more time on something that needs it to really sing, to really make it look right, instead of cutting corners and trying to just pump stuff out. Like with Photochem, they're giant, they're massive. They worked on Force Awakens or Last Jedi, whatever it was. When I walked through, they were like, "Yeah, this guy signed this poster." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Mark Hamill, that guy. He's never heard of him." Yeah. So they know what they're doing, and so having that team, which is hundreds of people, versus our team that was 7, 8.
You got 7, 8 people in your
For this
company?
movie. So there's 4 of us that are full time at Gaardhouse. And then we brought on 3, 4 people to help out with a handful of shots.
Yeah, how many VFX people do you know in town based on like,
Yeah.
hey, we need the squad.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You need, like, Avengers Assemble.
Yeah,
like,
right. We know people now. Yeah,
Okay,
we know people now. That's for sure. Yeah, and they kind of came out of the woodwork after the fact too. I was like, oh, I would have loved to have had you a month ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then moving down the line, does that usually happen where people underestimate the amount of shots they're going to need to have VFX applied to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why
Especially
is that
if there's, I think VFX supervision again on the front end. So let's say, for instance, you have a director that's maybe has some familiarity with VFX work, or maybe none at all. Having a VFX supervisor or somebody in the industry that is rote on reading through a script and be like, that's VFX, and starting to line item all of that can be really huge, and also understanding what you're gonna have to do on set budgetarily.
Yeah.
Then when you have your VFX supervisor on set, they're gonna allow for you to basically pull off a few shots that maybe didn't need VFX at all in the first place. You're like, well, if we did this, then we can get away by doing this in post later, and it's gonna save us like 6 shots. We'll take 6 shots down to 1 if we shoot it like this, type of thing.
So nice.
Yeah, problem solvers for sure. Experts in a field that just seems weird and magical.
What got you into doing VFX, and where did you? I mean, did you start out, with miniatures as a child, or how did it all begin?
So my brothers and I grew up. My grandfather was a filmmaker. My dad sells gear basically. So he worked for JVC back in the 80s.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so sometimes our living room was filled with demo equipment that was worth more than our house. our family videos from when I'm a little kid look professional. It was
Wow.
ridiculous.
That's
yeah.
nuts.
So grew up around cameras. It was just kind of immediate that I was going to be going into something like this. It was in the blood.
Yeah.
And so started out as a filmmaker, editor, like shooter editor,
Yeah.
and then moved more into VFX when I wasn't happy with what I was getting out of my cameras, because I kind of came through the mix of film into like mini DV and like
Yeah.
P2.
Yeah.
And when I first started out, I couldn't afford even like a solid P2 camera. So I started diving into digital effects because I could make that whatever I wanted it to be, basically. Didn't need a camera. I could just use my computer. And that's what I started playing around with. And then taking photography of smaller things and compositing it in and
Yeah.
you know, making those characters, that type of thing. So it's just kind of a progression for basically monetary reasons. It's like, I'm going to get into VFX.
So did you go to school for it, or did you learn all this before you got in?
There wasn't really a school for it when I was getting into this.
Okay.
There were a couple colleges that were kind of doing stuff. I mean, USC Film School obviously had a visual effects department, things like that, schools like that. But around here, there was not much.
What was
at
the
all.
computer program that you started with?
I worked in After Effects from the beginning. Yeah. So I had Final Cut 7 at beta. I'm sorry, Final Cut Pro at beta, because my grandfather was in the Apple Consultants Network.
Yeah.
So he'd get not for resale copies of this stuff before it was even on the market. And so thankfully I was able to like start learning this stuff right when it came out, which is pretty sweet. Yeah.
So you were born ahead of the game. Some could say. That's insane, man. That's crazy. Are there? I wanted to ask this earlier on. Is there any point where you have to look away from the computer screen because your retinas are getting absolutely burnt out?
Oh man, yeah, totally. So we had frizz breaks during the movie. 3 o'clock frisbee out in the field, mandatory.
Yeah.
Like, put it down, take your headphones off, let's go outside. Even if it's kind of cold out and windy, we're throwing the frisbee for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, that was important for sure. And then getting out into the wilderness is a huge thing for me. Like, Boundary Waters in 2 weeks, I can't wait.
For real?
Yeah.
Did you go up the Gunflint Trail?
So
Where'd you go?
this trip going up the Gunflint, taking a buddy in who's never been, so yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. I was up there a few weeks ago.
Yeah?
And
Sweet.
it's just, there's something about Grand Marais that's very, very serene and peaceful. There's like really there's no need to be pissed off, man.
Yeah, right?
Like there's no rush, man.
Yep.
Chill out. Like, and if somebody's yelling at somebody up there, which I've never seen, unless it's like an out-of-towner, there's just no damn reason.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
It's confusing.
It is confusing. It's like, we're here. Like, we made it. What's your problem?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of making a film up in Grand Marais or the Boundary Waters?
Working on one right now, actually. Yeah. Met up with Brendan Harris. Do you know Brendan Harris?
No.
So he works over at Committee, and his producing partners, John and Will Moody, the three of them have a trailer out for a documentary called This Wild Land, and it's all about the Boundary Waters. And it's beautiful. And so I'm coming in kind of help out on like post-production producing side and seeing where I can help them plug some holes. Excited to get that out. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I feel like you'd have to mandatorily have a drone if you're making a film in Grand Marais.
Lots of drone footage. Yeah.
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Superior. It might get blown the hell over. Who knows? It might just get taken out of the sky.
Yeah.
So how often do you like? How often do you vibe out with like wildlife? You're like, okay, I need to leave the city and get out of this office.
Almost
I'm dying.
weekly. Yeah.
Okay.
Almost weekly.
Is that where you're from? Are you from the sticks or like?
No, I grew up in like the northern suburbs of Minnesota, so kind of like right on the edge of the sticks. But same thing, big parental influence in that regard.
Okay.
Where I was in the Boundary Waters as an infant. Like, yeah, and just every year my dad or my mom would take us up.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
So you start getting into VFX, and I might be saying that wrong. You have to correct me. Motion graphics, VFX.
Yeah.
Cinema. What do we call it?
Yeah. So motion graphics, animation, and VFX are what Gaardhouse really focuses on.
Animation. Okay, that's the word I'm leaving out.
Yeah.
So you get into that. You start abandoning the camera. At what point? I mean, you just got out of high school and you started doing VFX for a living, or how did it work out?
So out of high school, I went to college, a couple of different places, 5 different places, and then pulled the eject lever, man. I think I went for like an hour and a half to each college.
You went to 5 different colleges?
I went to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of them didn't know I was going to it. So Clint, our buddy Clint, was going to MCAT, and I would just follow him to class. So,
Really?
yeah. I was like, I'm not paying for this.
My
This is
God.
way too much money. So a couple of the professors were actually really cool about it. They
Yeah.
got it. And so I'd just sit shotgun with him, and I'd be like, he's my ride. I
That's
just got to hang out for a bit. Like,
hilarious.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so some guerrilla school, you know.
You just showed up to MCAD
Yeah,
kicking.
well,
Fair enough.
it was fun.
But then my question is, could you, and I was just talking to Chris McDuffie about this, was there a certain point where you were like, man, I'm kind of ahead of this, like I get it? Or,
I think
or were you actually
as-
absorbing knowledge from the class?
always absorbing knowledge. Like when I was in class, like there were classes that I were taking that had nothing to do with the field that I was going into, but was gaining something from that, whether it was art history and getting inspiration and influence from various artists or various methods or technique. Definitely gleaning that, but I think like in anything, as soon as you kind of stop learning, it's the beginning of the end. And so we're constantly doing stuff. We're constantly sharing stuff around the office. One of our Slack channels is inspiration. And it's like whoever sees something that really I think is awesome, throw it up there. Let's take a look at it, talk about it.
Yeah, we just got Slack at the brewery I work at.
Yeah.
I don't know how to log into the damn thing. But I'm gonna, yeah, Slack, I remember it. Okay.
Slack's great.
It just reminded me I need to hop onto that. So you go to these, I went to 3 different colleges, so I can semi-relate a little bit.
Yeah.
But the jumping around was just, I think it's a tall task to ask a kid to get into college right out of high school.
Yeah, you know,
For some people, it's just for them.
Totally. They know what they want to do, or they're just into the idea of this is the next thing, and they're cool with that.
And just the knowing isn't enough. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there goes the camera. But the knowing isn't enough. It's like, yeah, I know what I want to do, but do I want to, like, unload this much money?
Right.
And am I going to be able to hone in and
Yeah.
focus in 3 to 4 to 5 different classes a semester?
Right.
For me, I can only do 3.
Yeah.
I couldn't do more than 3 classes a
No, I
semester.
get it. I get it.
I don't know if that was your thing, but it was.
My main thing was that I just didn't want to pay for it. I really didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I got out of my first college that had nothing to do with anything of what I do now,
Yeah.
it's like, what a waste.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saddled with that debt, tens of thousands of dollars off of 1 year.
When you think about tens of thousands now,
Right?
man, I'm thinking
I know.
about like, man, what kind of film could I have made?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
exactly.
Yeah,
So that was a big part of it was I'm starting my own thing, and I'm going to work a 40-hour-a-week job doing manual labor and then go home, shower, and work another 8 hours starting this thing, whatever this thing looks like. I remember the first check that I got when I was a freelancer back in the day was for $50 for my
Damn.
first video.
What'd you do?
It was on my birthday. Yeah, I went out and I
Worked on your birthday.
I got the check and put it in the bank on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So that was a little bit of a happy birthday to me. Yeah, I went to the bar. So
You went to the bar. Okay, nice. What? So you freelance. You go to 4 different colleges, and you're freelancing all throughout. I'm assuming.
So
Or trying to.
freelancing, when I was doing college, I wasn't doing any of this. It was all, I actually left the States after college and went to Haiti for a while.
Okay.
And my aunt was living in Haiti. My aunt and uncle are out there. My uncle worked for USAID and actually kind of still does, doing advocacy for governmental organization. Super cool stuff. My aunt was a documentarian, so she was doing a bunch of documentary work around the artisans that are in Haiti, which is amazing.
Wow.
There's so many. So I went down there and just hung out with her and was her sound guy, and
Damn.
got hooked on it. And
That's
came,
awesome.
and it was already in the family. It's like there's so many different filmmakers in my family that just kind of always been there, and so that
Yeah.
kind of unlocked it for sure. Came back, realized, okay, I probably need to learn a little bit more about photography. Took some photography courses, so that was one college.
Yeah.
I need to know a little bit more about storytelling, and I wanted to actually go more down the journalism path, actually.
Okay.
And so I took some journalism courses, and that was another college.
Yeah.
Then, so just basically piecemealed college, and then I was like, all right, that's enough. Now I need to actually know how to do this. So I went to the School of Google after that. It was autodidactic. Yeah.
School of Google. That's
Yeah.
the 5th school.
Yeah, the 5th school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, how much time in between you coming back from Haiti until the inception of Gaardhouse?
2 years? I think.
That's pretty
Well, actually,
good.
for the inception of Gaardhouse was a while longer because I was basically just me, just kind of doing this thing like, hey, I make videos for you, whenever you want, whatever you want, and trying to find the people that would let me make the mistakes, you know. And that worked out great for a while until I was like, you know what, I don't want to work this manual labor job anymore. Let's really try to get some clients. And so started pitching, started like trying to give a service that was, you know, really solid in a way that people hadn't seen before.
What's the first step to getting clients? And when you say pitching, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so identifying who you want to work with.
Yeah.
Going after that client in a way that you see maybe a need that could be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And contacting somebody. And that could be 100 emails. That could be...
You could be one of 100 emails, or you could be, you're turning out 100 emails.
Turning out 100, like sending out, like, that's someone I want to work with, that's someone I want to work with. There's
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
And then seeing who writes back, and they maybe have a need at that time, and then starting to formulate something for that, going in and pitching it, and creating something out of nothing. And that's how Gaardhouse started. I was out in LA and was pitching around a documentary actually that I'd worked on down in Mexico at a children's home. That I worked with Clint, actually, and another buddy, Jamin. And went out there, and a friend of my wife's was living out there working for Fox. Took him to dinner, I'm like, hey man, give us a shot. Like, we're gonna do really good work for you. And our first job with Fox Networks was a postcard. I was like,
What do you mean a postcard?
postcard, design a postcard.
Huh?
Yep. And so I was like, postcard, weird. And so I almost felt like this is, you know, wax on, wax off or something. I don't know. Like paint the fence. Like, what is this? You know? Yeah. So I just designed this postcard with our team, and it's now our dollar bill project on the wall. So the whole postcard set is framed and up on the wall at Gaardhouse. Yeah. Because that grew into a lot of work with Fox Networks, 20th Century Fox, and now Amazon and NBC Universal. Because people that we worked with there left and brought us with.
Shit, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
I didn't know it went down like that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was all from just going out there pitching a documentary, like knocking on doors and actually like, hey, you want to watch this documentary, see if you want to have it in your film fest? Nobody wanted it in their film fest, man. That was a terrible documentary.
Well,
Making mistakes,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, making mistakes and feeling great.
Yep.
There's something to be said about film festivals, and I recently got rubbed the wrong way. And I have a blog article coming out about it. Which I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be the most welcome piece, but I have found film festivals to be a setback for filmmakers. Because in music, nobody waits for permission to release their album.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's call Lollapalooza first and see if they'll take us. You know, it's like, oh, you release the album. You hit like upload on TuneCore and like send it away. So there's this weird thing about film festivals. We're in this day and age where you can release your film, you know, wherever. The four places I can think of are Vimeo, YouTube, Sounds Strange, IGTV, less than 10 minutes, and then Facebook. Those are the four places you can release something just whoosh, and then promote the shit out of it with, Google Ads or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you found film festivals to be a deterrent or a, something that galvanizes, or as a catalyst for films, or what's your experience been with film festivals?
I think film festivals are really a unique experience. I think it's from like going to a film fest versus going to a movie that you have seen all sorts of promotions for, and you go to a film fest and you stumble upon something awesome. I enjoy it when that happens. I've never heard of this movie, and then 6 months later, like, it's everywhere, and that's really fun. I love that. I love as a movie goer, I love that experience. As a filmmaker, I've never had an experience with a film fest where it's done huge things for us. Where it's like, oh, that's gonna like now explode. Everybody's gonna see this, and because we had it in this film festival. And part of that, I think, too, is like there are certain film festivals, like say a genre film festival versus a Tribeca. It's going to be entirely different things and entirely different reasons why those things work the way they do.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go to a film fest and have our film catch fire. I'd love that to happen. And I think that there's, like what you're saying, with the democratization of distribution through all of these just like hit, play, go now mediums, there's a lot of opportunity there, but also a lot of noise. And like trying to be able to cut through the noise as quickly as possible is where film festivals still have that voice and that possibility. I feel like where there is a moderation or a curation that cuts away some of that noise.
It does. There was a lot of noise cut away from a certain film festival in town. A friend of mine went into the theater, was the only person in that theater for that section of shorts. And so then I thought about that, and I was like, well, I mean, the Twin Cities for film festivals, I'm not sold on the stuff that happens here just yet. Like it's going to make or break a film. But he walked into a theater, St. Anthony, Maine, and just was like, oh. And he was the only guy. And for me, I was just like, man, that seems like a real slight to whoever was really applying and submitting to this film festival. Like, damn, it's, if a tree falls and there's no one there to hear it, like,
what's the point of this short film?
Exactly.
What's the point of this film?
Oh my goodness. So you make a postcard for Fox. That was one of the first clients you pitched to. Right? So you make a postcard for them. That leads to bigger things. Was there any point where you took a kind of a leap of faith, and it, where you weren't quite sure if it was going to work out? Maybe it was when you started leasing your space, or you bought that giant, iMac that I was like $6,000.
At least
the first 2K.
Big time, man. Constantly. We switched from Apple to PC last year. And that was a big investment. Not as big as if we would have bought the same type of computer with an Apple computer. But switched to the PC side because it's so much faster now. Ironically enough, our first job on that PC was for Apple.
Wow. Okay.
So the risk there was financial, right? We know we have to make this investment into the company. We're going to have to switch what we know. We're going to have to start switching up our process. We're going to have to start changing the way that we do this, the way we've always done it. That's a bit of a risk. Paid off. Is paying off. We're actually in one right now. We were invited to pitch at Netflix on Friday next week in LA. And so we're working on a massive pitch right now. We've brought people in to help with that, and we're just, we're not making money off of it right now. We're investing in this risk. It's an opportunity.
Same space right now as well. Yes, here we are. As we semi-wrap up, I have two things I want to touch on. One, what does the future look like for you? What is the project? Is there a project or a story that you've had in mind for some time that you've always wanted to tell? And maybe you don't need to reveal too much of it, but I'm curious, when did it come to you and what does it kind of look like, or how does it feel to you?
So there's a handful of scripts that we've got that we're actually pitching on Friday next week, a handful of projects. And there's a couple that I think could be, one is a script that my wife's been working on for a long time that she's really proud of, and I think it's really solid. That could be a really fun one. And where I get really excited is when I'm able to, more on the periphery, see that, okay, Matt's got a great script, Sarah's got a great script. How can we make these things happen? Brendan's got a great documentary. How can I come in and make these things happen, finish them? Because making a movie, or making a film, a documentary, a short film, man, I mean, it is giving birth,
it's tough.
It's tough. And so to be able to come alongside,
give birth, that's what it would feel like.
Making
documentaries. Oh goodness. So you have some things in the fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe too many things in the fire.
But there's not the one that you're kind of like, man, this is it.
So I've had one that's been in the back pocket for a while personally, and it's always sci-fi. Something I actually started writing back in 2000. So it's So I've just never really been a writer myself, and so I'll just hack at it every now and then. But that's a script that I'd love to see happen someday. But then the second one we actually just came up with.
Oh.
And it's short for Star Trek, actually.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Well, the Picard just came back.
Right?
Said he was in tears.
We were pretty inspired, my buddy and I. And so on a flight to New York, we came up with a treatment for a short for Star Trek. I'm pretty excited about that one. I think that one could be fun if we could pitch that to CBS. I think that'd be kind of fun. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, if you need as I said in the last interview, if you need anybody to walk in the background or speak in the foreground, I'm right here. You know my number.
Absolutely, man.
Oh, that's the hustle. Last thing that I want to ask, because you spoke about Haiti, you spoke about Mexico.
Yeah.
What part of your work or your experience in being, kind of a visitor to, a country that may not have as much opportunity or privilege as we do here, has there been any kind of documentary that you've wanted to show or story you've wanted to tell in an area like that to people here?
That's a good question. Haiti, this documentary about the artisans of Jacmel in the south of Haiti, it's such a beautiful place in such a difficult environment. And
Why difficult?
The amount of poverty, the amount of overall unrest, I think that happens on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It makes for this really interesting juxtaposition of the beauty of what these artisans are creating in Jacmel in this difficult situation. And I think that could be a really interesting documentary that my aunt started and never got finished.
Damn,
I know,
you got to finish it now, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is the whole reason why you were put in this position.
Yeah. I think that would be a really cool thing.
You talk about filmmaking in the family. Like this is almost like I think of like what was that thing in that last Star Wars movie where everybody died. Basically, they're handing the baton off, and Vader enters the hallway and just starts ripping dudes left and right. Rogue One.
Yeah.
And they barely get the baton through the door, and then he just turns around and gets dealt with. I feel like she's handing the baton to you,
gosh.
and you have to take it and just
My poor aunt, taken out by Vader. Yeah.
Father time, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Or just as a lot of us filmmakers experience, just. Well, on to the next one. I don't want to deal with it. I'm tired of post. Kick this down the road. I hope you get to make that. And I look forward to more of your work down the road. Where can people check out some of your work?
Right now, our website, Gaardhouse.com, is a lot of our motion graphics animation work for advertising and
GAARD
yes.
HOUSE?
.com.
Okay, I thought it was going to be the HAUS.
Yeah, no, HOUSE. Yeah, it's confused and great.
Gaardhouse.com. It's totally fine.
Instagram's another spot for fun stuff. The Gaardhouse Instagram as well.
It almost sounds like you're going to be doing more passion projects. Not more passion projects, but you're taking on more passion projects than you have before for the company.
There's
client work.
There's definitely three main silos to Gaardhouse right now.
Yeah.
The advertising, the film and television content creation, and the film and television promotions.
Yeah.
And those three things are quite separate, and dealing with that right now and figuring out how to streamline all three.
Good luck spinning the plates.
Totally.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, the motion graphic that you saw at the animation you saw at the beginning of this was made by Zach. So thank you so much for coming out for the time and for making the beautiful animation. And
you're
we'll
welcome.
talk to you again, brother.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a wrap on that.